Before we start the pod this week, I just want to give a shout out to Ruse Clothing, a Teesside-based business, and it's where fashion meets family spirit. They just want to create a brand which identified with them in terms of designs and fit. And to be honest, their clothes are really, really cool. So if you want to go and find them out, it's www.ruseclo.co.uk/Boro Breakdown. That link is in the description below this podcast and on our YouTube video as well. But for right now, let's speak about the draw against Huddersfield. Look ahead to West Brom and answer your podcast questions. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is our Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod.
Support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Ravanelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Ravanelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with Jonny and Tom. We are the Boro podcast. We'll give you all of your Boro Matchday Chatter in a podcast. And Boro's search for the first win of the season in the league still goes on, with Boro drawing 1-1 against Neil Warnock's Huddersfield. Tom, how are you feeling? What was your one key takeout from the game yesterday?
My one key takeout is that was very much improved on the first two games, and it's mad how much difference two new signings in those two vital positions have made. We looked a lot more balanced yesterday. Really like the look of Morgan Rogers in the number 10 position. And, you know, I think it's telling, and this is quoting from an article I read in the Northern Echo this morning, that we had more, it was the same amount or more shots on target in the first half than we'd recorded in the first two games. I think we're very much nearly getting there. I'd still like to see some more signings, but I don't think we're kind of too far off. I think we just need some depth now, really. But yeah, frustrated that we didn't get that first win. Hopefully we can do it against West Brom next week. But yeah, it was massive improvement on the first two games.
Yeah, it was definitely improvement, wasn't it? I think my key takeaway, though, is sensationalism in football. I think that it's crazy when it's only 3 games in and you see some fans saying it's a relegation fight, some saying it's horrendous, some saying it's progress, and some saying it's amazing. And I think its opinions really do matter in football, but I feel like we're in a moment right now where if you don't win, it's the worst thing in the world. And when, when you do win, you're the best team in the world. And, for me, I think progress is progress. I think when you look at each game in isolation this season, you can definitely see the steps of improvement that we're having. I appreciate Coventry wasn't a particularly good performance, but I think we could kind of see what we were hoping to do. Yes, we were terrible, I'll be honest, and I went back on that last week, but the game yesterday, I think progress is progress. We created loads of chances. We didn't put them away, but we were starting to click, like you were saying Tom. I think there was just like little key moments where there's patterns that were starting to go. We were creating some good spaces. We made some fine tweaks here and there. And it's just slowly getting there. I think we are a different team than what we were a few months ago. The loan players did play a massive part in where we were. But, we're starting to build that squad up. We're still hoping to try and bring bodies in. And hopefully it continues to click. So if we are still if we are still creating chances with a team which on paper probably might not be as strong right now, and we're still creating them and we're still creating good chances as well, I think it's only a matter of time until these all start to click and we start to go again. So the prediction of our mid-start of the season of a slow start and hopefully ramp it up might come off. I'm going to hopefully stick with that. But I thought we were okay yesterday. So for me, sensationalism in football is hilarious. But if I have to have a second point, it would be progress is progress. And let's talk about the game then, Tom, because we made actually 5 changes to the side that lost to Coventry. Howson, Vandenberg, Force, Latilaf, and Engel came in as well to make their debut. So how effective do you think we were following the changes that Carrick made?
Like I said, I feel like we just looked a lot more balanced, and that seemed to be in the two positions, which we've mentioned previously, which were key to be filled, striker and left back. It was very nice having a striker who was actually going to, make the runs in behind, Very similar to what we had with Cameron Archer last season. I think he can see Laterlaf has some of the same attributes, in terms of the pace, the aggressiveness to kind of, battle against defenders, and he can hold his own as well. He obviously does need work on his composure and finishing by the looks of it, but we kind of talked about that in our group chat before he signed as well, and we're kind of just basing that off one game. But he does seem, it does seem like when he gets kind of too much time on the ball, he can be prone to making the wrong decision. Hopefully, we can kind of coach that out of him. But if he had that composure anyway, he wouldn't be playing for us. So, but like I say, it was good having that up front, and Morgan Rogers moving back to that 10. I thought did very well yesterday in terms of the chance creation. I thought we were very good with that. I think we were unlucky not to win. I think the only reason we didn't possibly is because it's Warnock and we never win against him. But just kidding. The only reason is really Lee Nichols. But then you look at the left back position. It definitely did seem a lot better defensively with Engel coming in. I personally thought yesterday he was playing a bit safe at times. I was like, I wonder if he's just trying to kind of like not make any mistakes on his debut, because there was a point in the first half where Silvera had it just at the corner of the box. There was so much space down the left hand side, and I'm sat there like overlap him, and he was just kind of like stood about 10 yards back from Silvera. Obviously, Carrick came out after the match and said we told him to drop deeper just because of the man marking system. I don't know if that was maybe an opportunity where he still could have got forward though, and it's maybe making that decision to get forward and having that familiarity with the team, which understandably after a few days training and on his first game for the club, he's not going to have just yet. So I am looking forward to seeing more of him. And just one more point: the absolute difference that Johnny Howson made coming back into midfield and progressing the ball out from the defensive midfield positions, even to up to the attacking midfield, and really kind of controlling that midfield area. Obviously, when we were doing our season preview, he's been injured for most of pre-season. We've had Hackney and Barlasser in pre-season who were getting some good reviews as a partnership. So I was thinking that is potentially going to be the partnership for the season. I think we're always at Howson's age, which I don't know how he still keeps going at the pace he does, because that is incredible. But I think there's always kind of like some discourse every year of like, are we going to sign like a replacement for Howson? Is he going to be kind of like more of a bench option this season? And I was wondering if that was the way we were going with it. Barlasser obviously had a lot of assists for Rotherham last season. I think we all want him to do well, but he hasn't played that well in the first couple of league games. He got a couple of assists in the cup game. Howson coming back in yesterday, just such an improvement in midfield. And like I said, just the control we had in midfield yesterday as a result of him coming back and picking up that partnership again with Hackney. I thought that was a very good change to be able to make yesterday.
Yeah, the changes definitely made a difference, didn't they? Yesterday, I thought we were much better, and just on Barlasser as well. I think when you've got a striker like Laterlaf now, who is really keen to get in behind, what a player to put behind him, right? Someone who can really who can really pinpoint a pass and try and get people in behind. Barlasser is exceptional at that. Hackney did a really good pass in the second half as well, where he broke through as well. So having that variation between Barlasser and Hackney could be a really good shout for us. Just for Boro, when we have that though, I would like the protection. I think that's where Howson really comes into it. If Boro were to move into a midfield 3, then that would work very, very well. But I don't think we will. I think that we played that 4-4-2/4-2-3-1 yesterday. And I think the one big change that we seen in the game yesterday was that 4-2-4 in possession, playing really, really wide, which we haven't done in the last couple of games. And we're able to create spaces and get in behind. And just on Laterlaf as well, like you mentioned there, I thought it was really good yesterday. I think on the lowdown videos that we did in the week around Laterlaf, and around his off the ball movement and not getting involved too much in the build up really kind of showed. I think his movement was fantastic. He wasn't particularly good when he had a couple of decisions to make, but he excited me, and I think that's what Boro fans want. You know, they want that bit of excitement, someone who can really put a lot of effort in. I said to Matt, our graphic designer Matt, in the pod that during the day, I was like, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Joseph Job and Tunjai in way, because he's quite gangly where the way he was running, but he also reminded me of Tunjai because he just couldn't stop. He just didn't stop all day. So there's plenty of positives, I think, especially from the changes that we've made and in the new signs as well. And no McGree though yesterday, Tom. Like, so he was on the bench again for a second game in a row. We're so used to seeing Ryan McGree in that number 11. He's been like a mainstay in the squad for a long time, unless he's been injured. So why do you think we're not seeing him at the minute? What do you think? Because he creates a lot of chances. He's really good on the ball. He can float between the lines. There's a lot of promise there, but we just didn't see him yesterday. So why do you think we're not seeing him?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think one potential reason for that might be the emergence of Sammy Silvera. You know, every time he's come on, he's looked exciting. He's looked like he's going to get something created. But at the same time, Riley McGree does that as well. It's going to be a tough competition for that position this season, I think. Personally, I'd have McGree in again for the next game. I think even when he came off the bench yesterday, he just did look really bright and look to create. So I'd like to see him back in. He's definitely kind of a more senior head. He's been around in this system a lot longer. So maybe he can be one to create something for that they'll laugh. But yeah, it's a bit strange to see him missing out. But I do wonder if it is just because of the emergence of Sammy Silvera and you know how exciting he's looked when he has been on the pitch.
Yeah, and I think Silvera played well. Yes, obviously everyone's going to think of that chance right at the death where we should have won it, and he should have broke the net, but he ended up nearly breaking a seat in the stands with his effort. But it was just one of those things. But we'll move on to like the overall assessment of the game, Tom, because you know 1-1, and when we break the game down, and if you want to look at it on face value and statistics side of things, you know Middlesbrough had high expected goals, you know, so creating better quality chances, but just not putting them away. Just 17 shots to 16 in terms of shots, but also big chances. This is where I thought the game was really dictated. Middlesbrough had 3 big chances in that game and didn't convert anything, where Huddersfield didn't have a big chance at all, but were able to score as well. And they did have an XG of 1, of course. Huddersfield, we had 2, so it would have been a 2-1 game, and that would have been fair. What was your overall assessment, Tom? What did you think of the game in general? Because it felt like Boro had plenty of chances, we just didn't put them away.
We should have won. I said on Twitter afterwards, it really wouldn't surprise me if Lee Nichols has won the overall man of the match for that, because he made some incredible saves to keep us out. Mad as well that we didn't score off any of our clean cut chances, but you know the one there where Hackney fires it in from the corner of the box, that's something special that it takes to beat Nichols and equalise the game. But no, I thought we played really well in terms of the chance creation. We definitely should have been ahead at half time with the amount of efforts we were having. And yeah, just it could have been a completely different game if just after the equaliser, if Lattdale Lafford had managed to just get that past Lee Nichols. Obviously, he's done a really good job there, coming out and making himself big, and you know, giving the striker that decision to make. But yeah, it just seemed, because it was only a couple of minutes after, wasn't it? It just seemed like this is the moment, and as soon as we get this one, they're going to open up a little bit more, and we'll be able to get another one after that. But yeah, we had the chances to win that, so it is disappointing not to. But like I say, you've got to be optimistic and take the positives from that game, in that we're creating chances again. We look more balanced, and it's going to come. We need to keep going. because we're not a bad team by any stretch. I know there's been a lot of people saying kind of like Carrick was one of them, saying completely new team. Maybe we need to reset expectations and stuff. We're not a bad team. We can create these chances. We need someone to put them away, and we need a goalkeeper who's absolutely not on his day, like Lee Nichols was yesterday.
Yeah, and that's it. I think Middlesbrough were playing, I think, are playing this season a little bit with a target on the back a little bit, because last year we were so good going forward. We created plenty of chances. We were exciting to watch. We still are exciting to watch. Just the expectation levels last year to now are so different. And I think the best thing and the worst thing for Boro to happen last year was the best thing of, going on that streak and going on a fantastic run of form, getting into the playoffs and playing well, getting there. The worst thing to happen to Middlesbrough last year was winning near enough every game from November, going on a streak and getting the playoff places, because there was so much expectation given off the back of that. And I think the team is different now, like you mentioned, and in terms of the overall assessment from my perspective, I agree with you. We were creating chances, good chances as well. In the first half, I think we were saying off air that the first half we created more chances in the first half than we had in the last couple of games. So again, progress. There were signs of clicking. There is still room for improvement, though. We're not to the level where I think we should be at the moment, but we are getting better and better and better. And I think that will come. And I'm really interested to see how we do in the next few games. And hopefully we can start to get ourselves going again. But it doesn't really mean too much. I think, when you look at it from a normal life perspective, when you start a new job or something like that, it takes you maybe like 3 to 6 months to get your feet under the table, start to learn, understand relationships, processes, and all that kind of stuff. So why is football any different? I think that, you're starting something brand new, you're moving house, you've got a different environment, you're working with people again day to day, you're still trying to understand different processes. So why do we think of it in a different perspective? I appreciate that there is like a class of, quality, but at the end of the day, we're people, so we're going to make mistakes. It's not always going to be rosy. And I think that's where the improvement's going to come. And I think as the season goes on, I think we will get better and better. And there's still room. I think we need about 4 or 5 signings to do that. We'll come with that a little bit later on. But on another day, Tom, I think that scoreline, surely it's got to be more than 1-1, right? It's got to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, earlier, Lee Nichols had an absolute stormer yesterday. Looking at some of the chances in the first half, Hackney goes 1-on-1. He makes himself big and covers the angle well. Another day, Hackney scored there. Force, I've never seen him hit a shot that hard as he did in the first half. Looked like it was flying in. And obviously Nichols has saved that as well. Comes out second half to cover a 1-on-1 against Lackdale as well. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, another day that could have very easily been 3 or 4-1. We were making the chances there, and as much as straight after the game yesterday, I was listening to BBCT's phone and people panicking and stuff like that. I really don't think there's any need to. Like we said, we've made enough chances, and we've had quite a few clear-cut chances as well, which we weren't doing for the first couple of games. Definitely improvement there. And, another day we take those chances.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So let's actually, before we move on to the praise, let's just say one level improvement. I think yesterday when we were playing that 4-2-4 and that man marking system, when our centre backs had the ball, I think Dale Fry particularly yesterday was playing it a little bit too safe. I think with Laugh making the really good runs in behind and stretching the teams as well, and Morgan Rogers was doing exactly the same. I would have just liked Dale Fry just to play the ball anyway. I think he was too nervous yesterday to give the ball away, and the crowd might get on his back. But if he was to do that anyway, and we're still trying to create opportunity more 9 times out of 10, or the more you do it, the more chance you're going to probably play the ball through. So that for me is a place for improvement. I would like maybe in the future Vandenberg to try and play that. I think he's a better ball playing centre half than what Dale Fry is. So that could potentially change again. But it's an improvement that we have to make. We're still getting there. There's still room. I still think that we will be up there coming the end of the season as well. The squad will only get better. I think we'll still improve in the transfer market as well. But let's move on, Tom. Let's move to the praise and place, because the praise and place is the place. We'd like to give praise to a player, coach and staff. Tom's lovely away shirt today and our Boro breakdown away shirt, which is coming very, very soon. It is a lovely shirt. It is adapted from 2001, 2002, and also in the 90s as well. So you can get that as well. It's only for a limited edition as well. It's only available to the end of next month. So you have to probably get buying ASAP. Rocky. So, Tom, praise and place. Who gets your place in the praise and place this week?
Well, actually, just before I start that, I've just realised from the ad, I've actually had like an unintentional away day shirt streak here. I was 0102 last week, and last year's blue and white this week. So I wonder which away shirt I'll find by accident next week. But praise and place this week. I'm going to say Morgan Rogers. I think it had kind of passed me by in the first half how influential he'd actually been. Watching it in the stadium, I don't know if it's maybe just the first couple of games, and I'm still like not analytical head is still not on yet, and I'm not really looking for that. But I was just enjoying watching the game, and we were discussing it at half time, and I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, he's done all right there. He had a good couple of dribbles, and I watched the extended highlights this morning that Boro had posted, and the fact that he was actually the one who set up quite a few of the chances in the first half, that had kind of passed me by. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, he could actually be a very, very good choice for that number 10 position. As you know, Dana, I believe, has been saying that for the last couple of weeks. He really has a good eye for a pass, and the ability to do it as well. So, yeah, I was very impressed with him yesterday. Hopefully, he can continue to impress in that position. I don't think he's going to be a full-on replacement for Chuba Akpom. I think that would be very, very hard to find in this division, especially for what we've brought in terms of a fee for Akpom. I'm not sitting here thinking Morgan Rogers is going to contribute 20 plus goals or anything like that. But as from a creative standpoint, he could fill that position quite well. And then it's just trying to share the goals around elsewhere, which it will be difficult. But like I said, it's very difficult to replace Akpom or Archer as well. But like I say, creatively in that number 10 position, I thought he did very well yesterday, and hopefully that can continue.
Yeah, he was really, really good yesterday, wasn't he, Morgan Rogers? And I think we had a question from Ben after, which we'll move on to, which asks a very similar thing around Akpom's replacement. Thought Rogers was fantastic yesterday as well, and I agree. I thought Rogers was fantastic. But he doesn't get my praise and place. He gets mentioned, but he's not the person that I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for Latilaf. I think naturally, I thought he was tremendous yesterday, and he was able to create so many chances. And how beneficial is it to have a number 9 who will get in behind and make those runs? It creates a different dimension to our play. And we just didn't have that in the previous couple of games. It's not Rogers' style to do that. And that's fine. That's just like a personnel thing. But again, I think he looked like a really good coup. Did Morgan Rogers yesterday, but Latilaf for me, he made the difference going forward. Gear was a completely different dimension to our play, and I thought it was really good. I was just shame he just didn't get the goal, but overall, his debut score, fantastic. Lucas Engel as well, I thought was good. Played it safe, but he was told to play it safe, and I think we'll see a lot of really good things from Lucas Engel, not in the next game, but for 3, 4, 5 games time, as he starts to grow more and more confidence, I think we've got a really good player there as well. Really, really good. I'm excited to see what he brings. I actually give him a 5 out of 5 in our lowdowns, so I hope he does come good. But I think he was. I think once he has time, I think he'll flourish just as much as Latilaf will as well. But let's move on, Tom. Let's move on to podcast questions now. So every week, you guys get the chance to send us a question via Twitter, Boro_breakdown, email the Boro breakdown at hotmail.com, or by joining our Telegram chat. It's absolutely free to do so. There's over 370 Boro fans in there chatting nothing about Boro at all. We talk about different things, about life, loads of random stuff. And to be honest, if you want to join. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to push it much more. But Tom, first question, it does come from Ben. We spoke on it very, very quickly, just around has Akpom's replacement been at the club all along? He thinks it's Rogers. You don't think it is. I'm going to assume that you don't. Do you think he's the replacement? No.
He's the replacement in that position. He's not the replacement for
Yeah,
the goals. What this is reminding me of, and I'm pretty sure you're going to appreciate this reference, Johnny, the scene in Moneyball where they
I
get
do
rid of
love
the star
Moneyball.
player,
Yeah,
and they're saying, "Oh, he had so many runs last year. How are we going to replace that with the little budget that we have?" And they're like, "We don't replace him with one player; we replace him with three." I think that's
absolutely
going to
agree.
have to be the aim for us this season. We're not going to replace 29 goals with one player for the fee that we've brought in. However, if we can share that budget around, get another couple of players, I think we do need another striker, get more players contributing in terms of goals. I think, what we've brought in attacking midfield in terms of creativity, I think that is going to pay off. It's just going to need time to click. I think we've seen good early signs of it, and a lot more so yesterday than any game before. But I think we're going to be looking at increasing the overall creativity of the squad, and then it's just waiting for people to put those chances away. So, like I said, I don't expect that Morgan Rogers is going to chip in with 29 goals this season. I'd love it if he did, but I don't expect that. I don't think that's realistic. He's probably the replacement for Akpom in that position, but I think he's one of the creative players who is going to be tasked with setting chances up. And he had a good run into the box yesterday. Decent shot on target on his left
Yeah.
foot. Maybe he can chip in with a few goals. I'd love it if he got double figures. But we're gonna have to wait and see. Like I said, I think those three players playing behind the striker have all been brought in with that purpose to create chances and share the goals around the team.
That's it. That's it exactly. I think the ability and the ability of different players and what their strengths are going to give us a completely different dimension. I think from what fans were wanting last year and having that replicated, I don't think it is because no players the same. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we'll play slightly different this year than what we have in the previous season as well. So we've got to adapt, we've got to progress as well. And I'm interested to see how that works. Like you were saying there, is Akpom's replacement there, positional wise. Rogers is great. Can we add to that even further? Of course we can. And we'll see what that front four will look like by the end of the window. And we got a question from Anil as well, where he says, assuming he says, oh sorry, not Anil, sorry, we'll move on to his in a second. It's from Simon, sorry. Where he says, Latif looks promising. Rogers looks even better in the 10. McGree looked good when he came on, but what's our best forward line? Best forward line for me, I think McGree, I think Morgan Rogers at the moment, and Latif. And I'd probably stick with Force, but I wouldn't be against Isaiah Jones playing in that right wing role. What about you, Tom? What do you think?
I'd agree with you there, but I think it would
Or
be
Sammy Silvera?
Rogers, Force, Latif. And then Silvera and Jones off the bench. They're going to be frightening for a tired defence for sure. So, yeah, I would say that's our best four at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on next couple of questions then. So one's from Nick, and he says, who might leave before the transfer window? Look, there's going to be players that will leave, and I'm expecting a couple too. Whether it's on loan or not. Tom, what do you think? I think Josh Corburn's a given. I think he'll go. I think Martin Piero might be a bit of a given as well. I think Paddy McNair might be a given as well. I feel like we might see a one first teamer leave especially one first team playing player to leave. What do you think? Who do you think's going to go?
Yeah, I think from the sounds of what Carrick was saying about Coburn, saying we've got a plan for him this season and stuff like that, I think we're after another striker. And as soon as we get that striker in, Coburn goes out on loan.
Yeah,
Which might be a good move for him. Just get another season under his belt as a starting striker. I will say, anytime he's been on the bench and we've needed to bring someone on this season, I'd always much rather he come on than Matt Crooks up front. I just think every time I see Josh Coburn coming back from loan or wherever he's been, he looks bigger. So, he's a very intimidating presence up front. Maybe another season just to kind of get that under his belt and get his confidence up. So I can see that happening. Piero, I could also see happening. again, I would want us to be bringing in a replacement centre midfielder, just to kind of take that slot. I'm not on about replacing Piero because we've not really seen anything that we need to replace at the moment. He's not really been in and around the first team since what, Warnock was manager. So, yeah, we need to replace him as an option in the team. But in terms of what he brings to the team, we still kind of don't know at the moment. And then Paddy McNair, I would also agree with, but that rumour's kind of there every transfer window, it seems. He's
Yeah, he
always
is.
being linked to some kind of like bottom half Premier League team or Stoke. And it's always like, oh, it might be like 4 or 5 million. Like, why? I'm not saying he's not good or anything like that, but I don't know, that rumour's always the same and it never seems to change. But he's in the last 12 months of his contract. And I think at the moment it looks telling that Fry and Crooks have both signed new contracts and Paddy McNair hasn't just yet. So I think he might be moved on. We might be looking at a replacement for whatever position we think we need to replace McNair in. Because I think we've said many times we don't know his best position. Are we replacing him as a midfield choice, as a defence choice? Is Matt Clark ever going to come back and kind of take that fourth choice centre back place? Who knows? But I could see that happening as well.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if when Matt Clark comes back, that he's regarded as a good ball playing centre half as well. He showed it in his early signs of the Chris Wilder era until he's had his injury, and be intrigued to see how he fares up. But yeah, there's players that could definitely go. Like Crooksy could potentially go. There's McNair that could potentially go. There is quite a toss up, and I still think that Middlesbrough have got a lot of work to do before the end of the window. But not just Middlesbrough, by the way. I think every team does. There's no teams ready until about October, November time anyway. So we'll soon see on that front. But Anil, his question was saying, assuming we don't bring in any players until January, what league position will we be in the end of December? I'm going to go probably 8th to 10th. I think we just need to keep adding. I think there's still a couple of gaps which I want us to improve on. But I just think right now I just don't think we have enough quality and depth, I think. But I think, probably 8th to 10th. What do you think?
I'll probably broaden that a little bit and say 8th to 12th.
Okay.
I think at the moment, like I said, we just do need to keep adding and bring in some extra quality to that squad. So, yeah, like I said, I think we're getting there. I think in terms of the chance creation yesterday, it does show that we've got a good creative team. It just maybe not on the level of the likes of the top six just yet.
Okay, well, let's move on to the final two questions. And one's from Will. He says, one clean sheet in the last 14 games. How long will this carry on for? Look, we've not had many clean sheets under Carrick, but we've had some fantastic performances. I don't think clean sheets are massively important. Yes, they do count. If you don't concede a goal, you're more likely going to win the game, really. And we've just got into that rhythm again as a side that we will probably score more goals than we concede. But I would say, though, we are probably quite easy to play against at times. I think there's sometimes the chaotic nature of how we do play. It leaves us quite prone to a transition. I think if you were able to try and nullify that a little bit, make us a bit more defensively sound, a slight tweak here and there of how we go forward in terms of setting up in possession, then we might see an improvement there. But then how does that counteract us going forward as well? So it's striking that fine balance. Appreciate clean sheets may come, but at the moment, I think we're like conceding very low quality chances. To be honest, I think the three against Coventry, I think deflection was one goal. One was fell into the attacker's feet and scored. One was a defensive error, and the score. The next thing we conceded three. Yesterday, another own goal. It's just like these are very low quality chances that we're giving away. And sometimes it can just be down to luck and personnel. And that happens. But I think there is definitely structural things that we can improve on. I just think that it's going to come with time, and to be honest, and maybe a personal addition here and there as well. And then the final question is from Thomas. He says, set pieces, how do we improve on them defensively and offensively? I think we're really poor in both departments. And Tom, just before I come to you on this point, I just want to pull a stat, or tell you a stat from the game yesterday. So Middlesbrough had an XG from set players of 0.06 versus the 0.48 of Huddersfield. So 0.06 is pretty much non-existent. We haven't actually created anything from that set pieces. And the last couple of weeks, the set pieces have been a theme on this podcast from the questions that we've had. So what do you think? How do you think Boro can improve on set pieces defensively and offensively?
Defensively, I've always been kind of more of a fan of man marking on set pieces. I think you get your centre backs to mark their biggest players. It's assuming your centre backs are the same size and not the size of Lisandro Martinez from Man United for that example. But I think you go with that. You get a couple of players on both posts, and the rest of the players are man marking as well. Gives a lot of accountability, and I'm not a big fan of kind of zonal marking on set pieces. So I'd be going with that direction for defensively. Offensively, it's difficult because you just need someone who's a bit more of a dead ball specialist than what we have. At the moment, I don't think anyone is, and that's potentially why we're going with the short corners. But we need someone with good delivery, and just to pick a certain area to get those corners mainly into, and then you fill in that area with hopefully your tallest aerial threats really. And hopefully Daryl Lenihan gets it and he scores. But again, wasn't to be yesterday. But I'd be going with that really. I think with the short corners, we are trying to kind of carve out a chance. And I've seen in the past they can work. I gave an example a couple of pods ago about was when we beat Ipswich under Karanka, and we took a short corner there, and Danny Ayala scored and clattered their keeper at the same time. But it was moved quickly then, and everyone's kind of seemed to know where they were going. It paid off for us. I have found in the first couple of games, especially, that no one really knows where they're supposed to be off those short corners, and would tend to be taking too long to deliver. So it narrows the angles, and it gives the defence a lot more time to kind of get prepped for defending it. I'm not a big fan of how we have been doing short corners. It's not to say they can't work. It's just we need a different approach if we are going to go that direction.
Yeah, that's it. I think the set pieces in themselves going forward, it comes down to angles, it comes down to movement, and it comes down to delivery. And how can you marry all those up together? I think statistically, set pieces, you're more likely to score from a long throw than you are a corner, which is actually a batshit stat to pull out. It's a book that I can't remember which one it was.
Rory Delap's big book of long throws.
But yeah, just the long throw. So basically, just like if the ball starts on page 1, and then like as he goes to throw it, John's like those like books where like you flip through, you just see the long throw, and like that's it goes. It's Peter Crouch nods in at the end in the Bet 365. So, but yeah, it's just so statistically, you don't really score much from set pieces anyway. I don't know really why we stress over them as fans to get so excited by corners and stuff like that, because realistically the chances are like it's quite hard to score from set pieces in general, and it just comes from creativity, the angles and ball delivery, and there's so many different things that can combine it, that where open play it's a little bit different, it's a bit more easier to do so. But it is what it is. I agree with you on the man marking stuff. I prefer man marking as well. Zonal marking's great, but I feel like it's too easy for an offense. I feel like an offensive team, if they just run into a certain zone, then more into a certain zone, then it's easier to take advantage of, rather than man marking where it's more of a responsibility of the player. But who knows? What are we to know, Tom? We're not set set piece specialists. That was so hard to say. But let's move on to West Brom now, because Boro travelled to the Hawthorns looking for a win for the first time since 29th of December 2019. It was when Jonathan Woodgate was in charge. We won 2-0. And it was a game where Middlesbrough were on the verge of pretty much winning 4 in a row, 4 or 5 in a row in that month. So we all thought it was all going to work for Jonathan Woodgate, but it just didn't in the end. But to get an assessment or analysis on West Brom, we spoke to Chris from Albion Analytics to find out a little bit more about the Baggies this season.
Chris Hall here from the Albion Analysis podcast. Ahead of our game with Middlesbrough, it's a bit of an odd one for us. I mean, the summer it could have been a lot worse. We knew it was going to be a challenging summer, to say the least. The club are financially in massive, massive trouble. The owner owes money which he's not paying back. We're having to take out loans at high interest rates to cover the money that we owe. And as a result, we knew we were going to have to sell players. We sold Dara O'Shea to Burnley for 7 million. Let Carlan Grant go on loan to Cardiff. There's a lot of talk that Grady Diangana, now that he's back fit, will be the next to go out the door. But it could have been a lot worse. I think we've lost. Dara was a big loss, but we haven't lost a lot of players that really heavily impact the first team. We've still got the majority of the starting 11 from last season, and we've been able to add Josh Madger and Jeremy Sarmiento, 2 players who kind of emphasise where we are as a club, that we are shopping in either the loan or freeze market. And that's why we haven't done a lot of business. So the squad's pretty thin on the ground at the moment. We're making the best of what we've got, and for that reason, I think most Albion fans are pretty positive about our start to the season. The defeat at Blackburn was frustrating, but equally, we brought it upon ourselves. We gave them 2 goals from 2 massive mistakes in 2 minutes. So you're always going to do well to recover from that. But we then beat Swansea, raced into a 3-0 lead, and then rather fortunate in the end to get the victory, because we conceded 2 goals and they had a bunch of chances from set pieces late on. And then we ground out a good draw at Leeds as well, which, you know, they've got their own problems, but so have we, and going away from home to a relegated side is always tough. So I think for as long as Carlos Corberán is in charge of Albion, I think there's cautious optimism from the Albion fan base. The problem is we know that the ownership is just an absolute epic disaster, and he's not running the club with the best interests of the club at heart. He's running it to take what money he can out of it and sell it. That's perfectly clear to anybody. He doesn't care about success on the pitch unless we get close to the Premier League, in which case he'll care because it brings financial rewards, but he doesn't care for the right reasons about getting the club into a stable position. Otherwise he wouldn't have spent in the way that he has. So we're always worried about what's next with the ownership. What decision is he going to make? What crazy thing is he going to do? What reckless thing is he going to do? Can we get a new ownership in? But Carlos Corberán is the stabilising factor for us at this moment in time. He's a huge plus. And as I say, whilst he's manager of this football club, I think we will always expect our team to be set up well, organised. We're not particularly exciting at the moment. I'll openly admit that we've massively overscored our XG. We're about 1.55 goals over our XG, which for 3 games is huge. I think we've had 8 shots on target and scored 5 goals. So at the moment, we're being clinical, but we're not being particularly exciting. Most of our chances are from set pieces, not from open play. But then we haven't got an out-and-out striker. DK's injured. Maja hasn't been fit enough to start games yet. And Brandon Thomas Asante, who's still learning to be a number 9, is having to lead the line. In terms of players to look out for, Yukoslu and Malumbi are always the standouts for us. Swift is the creator-in-chief, but the one who sort of has surprised Albion fans a little bit, although he was excellent before he got injured last season, is Matt Phillips, who's played, God only knows where he'll play, because he's played as a left-sided midfielder, a left wing-back, and a striker / number 10 in the 3 games so far already. But he seems to be able to turn in a performance wherever he plays on the pitch. Alex Palmer excelled against Leeds in goal, so he's always one to keep an eye on. And just one to keep an eye on from entertainment purposes is Cedric Kipre, who is the sublime to the ridiculous. Will probably go from looking like one of the best defenders in the division as he canters out of defence with the ball and plays a wonderful threaded through ball, to looking like one of the worst as he makes a horrendous mistake, as he seems to do every week. So he's just an absolute quandary, but he'll bring, as my co-presenter said on this week's pod, he'll bring entertainment, that's for sure. Be interesting to see how the game goes. I felt Corberan very much won the tactical battle when we faced Middlesbrough at the end of last season, but then we had DK that day who scored the goals and was excellent. We won't have him, so it's whether we can trouble you from set pieces and be as solid at the back, because we've lost two important players since that game, DK out injured and Dara O'Shea at centre half. So can we turn in the same performance without our best defender and our best number 9? It remains to be seen.
So thank you very much for that, Chris, and hopefully we can pick up a result against West Brom, Tom. So what's your predictions going into it then? Do you think Matt Carrick will make changes to the side that drew on at the weekend? And also, what's your actual match prediction as well?
I would make one change, and it's one I hope will be made, and that would be McGree in for Silvera. And my match prediction is actually going to be 2-0 Boro. I think this is going to be the match where it finally clicks. And I fancy Latterdale have to get a goal. And I think this is going to be the match where we get our first win of the season.
This could be the match for Darragh Lenihan as well. You know, you said laugh. This, I'm all in, Tom. All in on Lenihan. All in. T-shirt coming soon. Anyway, so the game then, it's such a difficult one, isn't it? I think Carlos Corberan's side, you know, he's such a good coach, right? He always adapts his team style to fit against the sides he's playing against, and they really nullified us at the Hawthorns last season. So I'm a bit curious of that a little bit. I think 1-1 draw will be good. I think it'll cause a meltdown online if we have one again, but I don't really care. I think it's a 1-1 draw, and I think it's a good. If we put in a good performance, I'd be really, really happy for that as well. So continuously building. I'm hoping we can try and bring in one or two bodies in this week as well, just to keep us ticking along quite nicely towards the end of the window as well. But in terms of predictions, 1-1 draw for me. Really tough game. Change for me is McGree coming in as well. And, you know, I would maybe like to test out Silvera on one side and McGree on the other with Rodgers in the middle, see how that works. Or Isaiah Jones, just to test things out. It's so early in the season, we have the time to test things. So let's go from there. But Tom, thank you very much for joining me as always. And to listeners and the viewers, thank you very much for watching and listening to us on your podcast provider. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider. And just to people on Spotify, we've got over 2,500 of you subscribed on Spotify, and we've only got 368 5-star reviews. So if one of you, all of you just give us a 5-star review, I wonder how cool that would be. You know, a Boro podcast have that many 5-star reviews. I think that'd be pretty sweet. And also, don't forget to give us a thumbs up on this video as well. That helps us get found in all the chats and all that kind of fun stuff as well. But for right now, Boro's search for a league win goes on. But can they bag the first one against the Baggies? We'll see next week. Well, this has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was like Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod. Up the Boro Breakdown.